Janine Pirro here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k. And China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, go to freegoldguide.com/Pirro, Pirro, or call 800-965-8004. Don't let America's enemies ruin this victory and steal your retirement money. The experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks that I trust to bulletproof your wealth in gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Pirro or call 800-965-8004, 800-965-8004 for a free 2024 gold guide to learn how you can protect your life's work and if you can qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver now. freegoldguide.com/Pirro.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Katsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Katsimatidis and Rita Cosby.
Just hours away from Christmas. John, it is Christmas Eve. By the way, John, you know I'm
hours
European.
Away. That means in Israel it's Christmas.
Yeah, I was about to say
Not that they're celebrating, but Jerusalem it's Christmas.
Well, hopefully, by the way, the hostages come home soon so they can celebrate.
Well, I hope so. I think they better get President Trump's message because he's not messing around.
He's not messing around. And I'm half Polish, half Danish, and we used to always celebrate when my parents were with us. I'll be thinking of them this holiday, but we used to always celebrate on Christmas Eve. So for me, this feels like the beginning of Christmas and being with you and Rudy Washington, who joins us in the studio.
Everybody. Am I on?
Yeah, okay. Right there. Go ahead, Rudy.
When Reagan came into office, after the hostages were held for over a year and some months, they were released in Iran, if you remember.
I remember.
And now look like we're getting a repeat with Iran. I hear they're talking about releasing the hostages.
Yeah, there's word that they may be close to a ceasefire,
right.
Some sort of deal, and the hostages, that would be amazing news.
Before Trump comes into office.
Yeah, they're like uh-oh. By the way, some great news. Bill Clinton, president
of the hospital.
Yes, how great to hear that news, and doing better.
He's a good person, and I'm glad he's going to be his home, for Christmas.
Beautiful. And he seems like he's in good spirits. That's a great thing. At least he was in and out. And that was great news. By the way, the rest of the Democratic Party, there was all these stories today about the Democrats in disarray trying to figure out where to go.
Well, they got to get rid of the crazies in the Democratic Party. I mean, not the progressives, the regressives.
You mean like Ayanna Pressley?
I mean, what happened with her?
Oh my God, John, this is unbelievable. Ayanna Pressley, who is, of course, one of the congresswomen, she's described as one of the squad. She's a Democrat from Massachusetts. She came out, John, and she talked about these commutations of the death penalty cases. Remember
these
Biden
people that were in jail and still are in jail?
Still in jail, but they got off death row.
Right. And they were sentenced to death.
Well, I think that they should be released. And let them move in with her.
Yeah, that would be a good solution. That would be
what do you
a
think,
great
Rudy?
solution.
Hey, I mean,
if she thinks they didn't do enough, I'm sure President Biden would release them and say move in with her.
Just like the migrants when they showed up in Martha's Vineyard. Remember, they stayed about 24 hours.
I love that one. Oh, man.
I mean, the migrants moved into Martha's Vineyard, and all these people that say, yes, we want the migrants, all of a sudden, they got a different religion.
They got it, and also Obama has a big property. Imagine how many migrants Johnny could have housed if he was keeping them there on his property there in Martha's Vineyard.
And that happened around this time.
Well, you saw what happened to one guy that ended up in the
Which one?
Which
Which
one?
one?
The one that ended up in the pond.
Oh, I had a
He's
feeling
talking
he
about
was going there.
He's talking about the cook. Was he the cook or
Yeah,
something?
the chef.
What
The
happened to the chef?
The chef. There's still a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
mysteries about the chef.
You know, John, it would happen this time in the winter time, which means there's thousands of rooms on Martha's Vineyard and empty houses. They could have easily housed the migrants.
But they don't want it. They don't want. By the way, I want to, before I forget, on Ayanna Presley, the Democrat, she came out. She commended President Biden for these commutations of the worst, John. We were talking yesterday. I mean, these people are like horrible people. If you look at some of the things they've been accused
I don't
of.
want to blame President Biden because
Somebody else wrote it?
Somebody else might have just used the automatic signing machine.
Which would be interesting if they could prove that, John. You know, maybe they're all rescinded, you know, if suddenly it wasn't him doing it.
Pam Bondi should look into all of these pardons because I got a feeling you're going to find some people got their palms greased with these 1,500 so-called pardons.
Right.
You know, it was like they're giving them out like candy.
They are.
So,
and you think President Biden went there and signed all 1,500 by himself?
No, and no. No, and no.
Exactly.
No, and then also.
By the way, in the
these,
studio with
you
us,
know?
in case you don't recognize his voice, is Rudy Washington. Rudy Washington was the deputy mayor under Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Two Rudys.
Hey, you forgot your normal line.
And
George Washington. Right, George
And
Washington's
Rudy
relative.
Washington had a DNA test, and he thinks that he might be related to George Washington.
I think 20 of the 20 tests you've taken, right?
Yes.
All 19 say yes,
Now,
right?
That should entitle me to the iPhone.
Oh, now I know what you want for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, that's the inside joke between
All
Tom
the
and I.
people, and for all of those that don't know, we help run the news department, and everybody in the news department has an iPhone that is on the thread. Except a few people that don't have an iPhone, you can't put them on the thread.
Like Rudy Washington.
And Frank Morano.
Come on.
Frank Morano.
He's constantly knocking my Android, you know?
Don't knock my Android, right?
Exactly.
Don't knock my Android. By the way, everyone's also talking about this horrible case, of course, of this, the woman who was lit on fire. And the guy just got charged, thank goodness, with 2 counts of murder, first degree. And it turns out he lit her clothes on fire. Then he used like a shirt or something to accelerate it. They're still trying to ID the woman.
You know,
I mean, this
that
is
is
horrible.
That's horrible.
And I heard somebody coming down almost like the Penny case where nobody helped. But the reality is, I could look at that video. She was fully engulfed. There was nothing anybody could do.
But you know what? Actually, I'll disagree with you, Rudy. You know why? There was the guy who was filming it.
I know.
And there's a guy filming it like it's a play-by-play. And apparently there were 3 or 4 other bystanders. Throw her on the ground. Look for water. Look for help. Don't film it.
Oh, yeah, you could do that. I mean, filming it is bad. But the reality is, when somebody is engulfed like that, a coat is not going to help. Nothing's going to help but a fire extinguisher.
Right.
You know, so there wasn't much bystanders could do, but it was horrible just to video it.
Just to video it, you know, and at one point, run, please, and go get help. I'd be screaming up and down, is there an MTA worker? Is there a cop? Luckily, the cops finally came because they were pretty close. They actually came down quickly, but it happened so fast.
Yeah, nothing they could do.
Nothing they could do. It was just, it is so sad. And also, Luigi Mangione, guys.
Anything new on that?
Yeah. Oh, John, this is an interesting one. This is a doozy. Everybody deserves the right to fair trial. Well, the lawyer, I'm not sure, but a lot of women were, by the way, John, yesterday in court. There were all these women that showed up in the court, and apparently he was looking at them. They were this is disgusting, you guys.
It almost sound like the Boston Bomber. You remember that young kid?
Yeah, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev.
And the women, the same thing.
Well, he didn't get pardoned. He didn't get,
he was one of the 3 that didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So this guy, Luigi Mangioni's attorney, said, it is not fair to Luigi that he was paraded when he had the perp walk, and it wasn't good that the authorities had all these guns around him, like he would be a threat. I'm sorry, someone who opens fire on someone in broad daylight throws themselves against the wall at the extradition hearing. Do you remember that whole scene? I kind of think they should have had even more guns. Your thought, Rudy?
Well, I think she'll have a better argument on a mental situation as opposed to, because even if you change a venue, it doesn't matter. This guy's toast. Yeah, I mean, they got his DNA, they got his gun, they got everything,
Yeah.
I think, she want to make a case that he's mentally not capable to stand trial.
Well, let's go to a great attorney, one of the best ones out there, Professor Alan Dershowitz. It's so beautiful to have you here. Happy holidays, Professor.
Well, happy holidays to everybody, but let's point the finger at the right person for at least some blame on this horrible burning incident, and that's District Attorney Bragg. By bringing a prosecution against Penny and making him go through all of that as a result of his being a good Samaritan, he sent a message to the New Yorkers: turn your back, go away, don't do anything, don't get involved, don't try to put out the fire. You never know, we may come after you if somebody gets hurt. That's the message that was sent by the prosecution of Penny. It's a terrible, terrible message.
Professor Dershowitz, you're right. What a sad situation. That people are afraid to get dragged in. I also wonder too, Professor, if just New Yorkers sadly have become so desensitized, because sadly there's so much crime. If maybe it's a combination of the two.
Well, but the Democrats tried to run on the theory that crime is actually down. They actually made that point over and over again. And of course, everybody in America knows that they're much more frightened today than they were a few years ago. And you can't make arguments to the American public that make them look like fools or says to them what you see with your own eyes isn't true. So, of course, we're seeing an increase in the perception of crime and the reality of crime in certain kinds of crimes. And that's, I think, largely the fault of district attorneys who are making terrible decisions, bringing, in Greg's case, a fake case against Donald Trump and then bringing the wrong case against Penny. Now he's lucky. Now he has a case that even he can't lose, obviously, the shooter. And he's going to make the most of it. Now, whether that case gets tried in federal court or state courts, we still don't know. What people don't realize is
I think they made a decision, Professor. The decision
what decision would they make?
The state's going to go first.
Well, let me tell you why that's important.
Right.
Because if the state goes first, there's no double jeopardy argument.
Right.
Whereas if the federal government went first, there is a double jeopardy argument because New York has a double jeopardy clause that applies if there's a federal prosecution, whereas the federal government doesn't. If you go state first, you can go to the federal. So if that's the decision, that's a very, very wise decision constitutionally.
Professor Dershowitz, as we're talking about the Luigi case, how would you defend him? I mean, Rudy brought up the insanity, which it sort of looked like maybe his defense attorney may go there, but there seems to me, and I'm not a lawyer, I try to have your intelligence rub off on me. But there seems to be so much premeditation. I mean, he comes to New York, he plans it, he has the manifesto.
I have an article in today's The Hill, and the question is, how would I defend him? And I say, since the arrest, everybody walks up to me in the street, literally walks up to me in the street, and they say, oh, you're Dershowitz, how would you defend him? So, and the answer is, I don't know, because it wouldn't be my decision. I don't know whether or not this guy wants to raise an insanity defense. You can't impose an insanity defense on somebody. He may want to get up in front of the jury and say, I did the right thing. The insurance industry, etc. He may want to go down the way his hero Kaczynski did. So he may not want to raise the insanity defense. If he does want to raise the insanity defense, it will be very uphill for precisely the reasons you gave. Now, one of the reasons they charged him with terrorism is precisely to blunt the insanity defense. Because if he's charged with terrorism, then you can introduce all the arguments about how rational it was, how he wrote all this stuff out, how it was reasonable. That's not the actions of an insane person. So the terrorism charge was added in order to make the insanity charge more difficult. So, look, his lawyer is a terrific lawyer, a great woman, and she's the right person for this job. But I just don't see how she's not going to get a plea bargain. She's not going to win on the insanity defense. She wouldn't raise an innocence defense, that is, that he didn't do it at all, because that would destroy her credibility. So I think we're going to see a trial. I think we're going to see a conviction, and I think we're going to see a life imprisonment sentence with no possibility of parole. I just don't think there's going to be a plea bargain, because why should either the state or the federal government plea bargain a case that they know they're going to win with a lot of positive publicity?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Professor, also, did you see this, that President Biden has vetoed a bill to add 66 federal judges, sort of, you know, anticipating that Trump would appoint them. So he's trying to do whatever. It's like he's trying to do all these legal hurdles to block him.
Yeah, but they can undo that as soon as the Trump administration comes in. Trump could not veto the bill. You can get the bill passed again, and then it wouldn't be vetoed. So, some of the things that Biden is doing are permanent, like the pardons for some of the killers that he's commuted. That can't be undone. But many of the other things that he's trying to do at the end can be relatively easily undone. And he has a good legal team behind him. Pam Bondi is a phenomenal lawyer, and she is the perfect person to be running the Justice Department at this point, because she's both loyal to the president, but she's also independent and brilliant in her own right. I worked with her. We were co-counsel on the first impeachment, and I have the world of respect for her.
Professor, what if we find out that those 1,500 commutations of pardons were auto-pinned and the president never really read them? Could Pam litigate that and undo it?
I don't think so. I think as long as the president signs the statement, I don't think you can look behind it. President Carter pardoned everybody who went to Canada without looking at individual cases. I know, because I have friends who went to Canada to escape the draft and then came back. So, the commutation and pardon power is the most unlimited power in the Constitution. The president doesn't have to explain it, doesn't have to know what he's doing. As long as he says it, it's done. So I think that's a fait accompli.
So before we let you go, Professor Dershowitz, there's a lot of stories out there about you, all great, of course, and saying that you might be an anti-Semitism envoy or something in the Trump administration. Since we got you, they would be lucky to have you. Would you want to do that? Or is
there any breaking news?
Yeah, any hot news?
No, my preference is to be completely independent, to be able to offer my advice to the president. I met with him last week, and I told him that, and we had a very interesting exchange about that. But I want to be independent. I don't want to work within the confines of the State Department or the government. I'm 86 years old. Time for me to be on my own.
You're younger than Al D'Amato.
To the president. I know, but I'll give my advice to the president. If he accepts it, fine. If he doesn't, he's the president. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be Elon Musk. I'm not going to be around him. But when the occasion arises, I will offer my advice, particularly on the Middle East and particularly on warfare. On any attempt to misuse the legal system, he knows he can count on my advice, because I've been advising him mostly through the media, but sometimes even more directly, like when I defended him against the misuses of warfare. I was in court one day when he was being tried in New York, and I saw with my own eyes what a horrible miscarriage of justice that case was. And, I told him so, and I'm happy to continue to advise. I want him to be a great president. I want us to have 4 great years. I'm rooting for America, as every American should do, no matter who you voted for.
Absolutely. Well, we are always rooting for you, and we love you. Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you so much.
Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. And
thank
all
you.
The good holidays.
Thank you. We love you. You too. Thank you so much. And joining us now is Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis from the great state of New York. And Nicole, we were talking about this horrible case that everyone's talking about, with the migrant, the Guatemalan migrant who crossed the border illegally twice and lights this woman on fire. It is so horrible, but it also epitomizes a bigger issue in this country and in New York.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible, especially just a few days before Christmas. And really, I think what I noticed, I guess, first was, here's a woman who's a homeless New Yorker living on a train or sleeping on a train. And here we have a government, our mayor, our governor, who are giving free hotel rooms, forcing us to pay for free luxury hotel rooms for illegal immigrants. And there's something very wrong with that. And, I think New Yorkers did speak out in November. I think that we're going to see some real change come next year. And that's great because we need it desperately. The priorities of those who are running our city and state are backwards. And I think that President Trump and his administration are going to come in and force them to fix the problems that they created on their own. This, again, all these protections for people in this country illegally, from our governor to our mayor, whether it's sanctuary policies, whether it's reducing sentencing so it doesn't trigger deportation, whether it be cutting ICE off of our DMV database in a post 9/11 world, to cut Homeland Security off your DMV database. That's just insane. And, this was, I think, something that caught everyone's attention. It's unfortunate that this tragedy had to happen to catch people's attention. But we are in a real serious situation in this country where our national security and public safety are at risk because of those whose priorities are just so misplaced and backwards.
Nicole, Congresswoman, this is Rudy Washington. How are you?
Hey, Rudy. Long time no see.
Yes. What really bothers me, and I've been talking about it, is the fact that the Biden administration allowed China literally to stand up an army in our country. And we haven't heard from them yet. And my greatest concern is we will. And it won't be nice.
Well, and those of us who lived through 9/11 obviously are very concerned about that. That's always been one of the things that I've highlighted when speaking about this on the House floor or in the media, is that we've caught a few hundred terrorists either at the border or in our interior. We don't know who's among the millions of gotaways. The people had zero interaction. Remember, the gangs who are wreaking havoc in our city right now, they actually turned themselves in at the border and were released by the Biden administration into the interior. What about the millions of people who did not turn themselves in at the border and actually have snuck in? And they are from communist China, from Iran, from all sorts of places. And that is a major concern of mine. And I've been talking about this, and unfortunately, it's like, when we say never forget 9/11, this is, these policies shown that our government has often forgotten.
Yeah. Well, so where do we go?
Look at the NYPD. The Communist Chinese police stations, right? We've caught. Thankfully, the FBI shut down a few of them, and some here in New York. But they were literally having their own police stations to monitor people who fled communist China. It's really scary.
It is. And it comes at a time, like as Rudy's bringing up, obviously not just the Chinese, but think about how many people are crossing that border, to your point, Congresswoman, at a time where we're dealing with, we're going to talk later in the show about the drones. There's so many things that people are uncertain, and it's a very just tenuous time. But we are so thankful to have you here. We always love having you here on the show, Congresswoman, and we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Very, very Merry Christmas to all of you, and Kala Kristuyana to my friend John.
Thank you so much, and spend it with family, and say hello to mom and dad.
Can I say Zito Alas? Would that work with what she just said? Close?
Zito Alas always works, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That's sort of long-lived Greece.
What about Feliz Navidad?
Feliz Navidad, yeah. Prospero Nuevo Año.
My mom appreciates that.
Okay, that's the Cuban version.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.
And when we come back, it was a huge mess at the airports. And, John, interesting stuff might have been behind the glitch at the airports.
I heard that they might have had a glitch, and there was a payment request, and somebody paid the $2.
Wow, the inside scoop when we come back.
That's what I heard. I don't know. I have not verified.
Wow. By the way, Rudy, John always has the best sources.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
You just look at the guests we have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot more.
Let's take a break, and then we come back, and we're going to have
Bert Flickinger
to see if he knows anything.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. And John, before we go to Bert Flickinger, I got to ask you, this was interesting what you just said about the airlines, because everyone's talking about American Airlines. Remember, they suddenly had a technical glitch for an hour and then got back on. Of course, one of the busiest travel days of the year. It was about an hour
later, maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, that's what someone told me. I don't know.
Yeah, and the intel was sort of what? Maybe something
Let's see, Bert Flickinger, what do you know?
Yeah, Bert, what do you know? The great Bert Flickinger. How are you, Bert?
John and Rita, top of the evening. John, you know this is a great practitioner and operator of a fantastic airline. American and all the airlines have been cutting expenses rather than invest in infrastructure, rather than invest in software, invest in information technology. This is the first of many slip-ups by American, Delta, and we go from Herb Kelleher, the best operational CEO of Southwest Airlines, to all these CFOs and bums found by executive search firms, and the CEOs enrich themselves and punish the passengers. So regardless of what the cause was, Rita and John, it's endemic and ubiquitous for American, Southwest, United, and every other airline, especially Delta. Is the shame of St. Bonaventure is Ed Bastian, as CEO, doesn't fly the airlines like you did, John, doesn't interact with the passengers, and they don't know how much people are suffering. And it's not like Home Alone Part 1, where the late, great John Candy, as Gus Polinski, comes and saves the family that's home alone from the airline system snafus. This is real life, and it's a real problem.
Yeah, that is so. But what can travelers do, by the way? Because people are panicking. I mean, today it was like 2,500 flights, Bert. I mean, that's an enormous amount of flights at a time where it's already crazy and nutty for holidays.
Well, Rita, as you and John have talked well for so long, the new president, DJT, and the incoming administration is going to fix all transportation, especially air travel, especially the roadways, and even more importantly, the railways. We're the only country in the world that doesn't have a good rail system. So the airlines have an oligopoly. They know they can get away with things like this today.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now, speaking of consumers too, when is sort of the if you're looking for sales for people listening, if they're still looking for a last minute guess, are they better off waiting obviously for the post Christmas super dupers? Because they seem to be doing, like, the airlines seem to be doing gangbusters. The stores seem to be doing gangbusters. But you would imagine, like, there's going to be mega bargains later on this week.
Rita, you and John are so smart, and you and your great WABC team have been reporting all year. There's record amount of inventory from Walmart to Target to Macy's to Dillard's to TJ Maxx. And the smart shoppers won't buy tonight. They won't buy next week. They'll get the best bargains if the retailers file troubling financials at the end of their fiscal years at the end of January 2025. The people who wait the longest, the shoppers will outsmart the stores. And as great as the bargains are today, and they are, and people should still shop if they need something. But if it's not an emergent, immediate need, they should wait till February and later in 2025 because you'll get the best bargains in history, courtesy of WABC.com. Breaking news.
Absolutely. So, Rudy, you're going to get your gift at the end of January. Is that okay, Rudy?
I'm frowning. I want it now.
Bert, thank you. We love you. Have a great holiday. Have a great Christmas.
And Mr. Rudy, a great leader of the city and the state and the country with you and John, Rita, and Margot, and Curtis, and Chad, and everybody on your team. All the best. Thank
you. We love you. Thank you very much, Bert. We appreciate it. And now let's go to the other big headlines of the day from Goya.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
And here are some of the other headlines from Goya. No bail set today for the illegal immigrant from Guatemala charged with first-degree murder and arson at today's arraignment. He is accused of lighting a sleeping woman on fire on an F train flicking his lighter on her clothes and watching her die from the subway platform. President-elect Trump says the U.S. should own Greenland. He wrote Sunday that ownership and control of the autonomous territory is an absolute necessity for national security and freedom throughout the world. And the Mega Millions jackpot is getting even bigger. The lottery's jackpot has grown to $1 billion for the Christmas Eve drawing. That would be a great Christmas gift. It comes, by the way, guys, with a cash option of over $448 million. What would you do, Rudy? Go for the big bucks or do the cash option?
Hey, look, I'm here now. I don't know if I'll be here 10 years from now.
Cash option.
Cash option.
John, you're the smartest businessman I know. Take the cash. All right, take the cash.
And don't buy Bitcoins.
Is that the tip?
I don't
Buy
know.
low, sell high?
Buy gold.
Exactly. And we know where to buy it from, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And everybody, after Paul Stone, we love him. And after the break, Brigadier General Blaine Holt talking about what he believes is behind the drones. Big scoop after the break.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Cats and Cosby on this Christmas Eve. And everybody's still talking about the drones. What are they and how concerned should we be? Well, joining us is retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt. He's a former C-17 combat commander, former U.S. Deputy Military Representative to NATO. General Holt, who do you think is behind this and what?
Merry Christmas. It's great to be with you both. I will tell you that it's looking more and more from the people that I'm talking to that there is heavy China involvement. Could be others, could be Iran. Certainly, this administration is complicit because they lie to us all the time about what this is. But what they need to do now is exactly what President Trump told them to do, and that's play it straight with the American people. Let us know what this threat is, and let us know what we're doing about it.
Now, why do you think it's China? What draws you to that, and how concerned should we be?
So I have some sources that I've been talking to about this inside the government that bring me down this path. And then the other part of this is a lot of really great citizens have been doing some very good photography that's been going up on social media everywhere. And two of the platforms, the larger ones, the car-shaped ones, the RV-shaped or sized ones, they are a very close approximation in China's inventory of what they call their CH-7, a triangular-looking drone, and then their CH-10, which is more of a rectangular but big payload type drone. So 3 to 6 meters across on each for their wingspan. They're very large. And these are the ones that people have been concerned about. Now, things that look like orbs and other stuff, I can't speak to that. But what I can say is there's a lot of technology flying above U.S. military installations, and now our installations overseas. It was reported this morning that our bases in the U.K. are also reporting drone harassment. And again, I think there's a great concern here because our government's not shooting straight with us at all.
But General Rudy Washington, my only problem with this is that why would we shut them down? I mean, we can't fly over China and just fly over the country or Russia. We'll be shot down instantly. I mean, if in fact this is Chinese, why are we allowing it?
Well, I could back you up and take you back to a time when there was this massive balloon flying over
right.
and you would ask me, why aren't we shooting it down? And I think in both cases, what we've got to do is we've got to now start asking some serious questions about what the relationships are between this administration and the People's Republic of China. And those things need to be investigated out. Anytime government leaders, elected officials, don't take actions that are constitutionally mandated that they take, meaning Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution directs that they protect the United States on a national security level. If they don't take those decisions, then what we have to do is investigate why they're not doing that.
And why
I mean, the same reason, Rudy, that they didn't shoot down the balloons until, they were fully embarrassed.
Yeah, but why can't we follow it back to wherever it came from? I mean,
maybe they know it. Maybe they know and they don't want to. Right.
Well, that's even worse.
It is.
I mean, I hear governors say, "Oh, there's no threat." Well, look, there's something called anthrax and other kind of nasty stuff that could be sprayed from these things that you don't see. And,
Exactly
Americans could start dropping dead 6 months from now. I mean, this is crazy.
Yes. So an irresponsible statement that Sabrina Singh, the deputy spokesman for the Pentagon, made last week was, well, at least we know these pose no threat to the public. How do you know that? Because when you have something with a payload like some of the stuff that has been witnessed in the sky, how would you know that all they're there to do is conduct espionage operations, as if that wasn't bad enough? You could disperse an EMP, you could disperse a bioweapon, you could drop a bomb. There's tons of things you could do. And the fact is, I also don't like that Americans are uneasy thinking that the Defense Department doesn't have the ability to eliminate this problem. If given the proper orders and the mission, I can assure you that since we pay over $1 trillion a year for our security, the DoD can handle that mission and can handle the mission wherever it exists, and at very little danger to the public.
And Blaine, you just hit the point, General, that has to come from the top down, and they don't seem to want to know what it is. I mean, they even self by their own admission, don't worry about it, but we don't know about 100 or more what they are. I mean, if the U.S. doesn't know what the 100 or more are, that's a concern. And it makes you wonder, I hate to go back to the whole Biden family, the Hunter Biden stuff. Remember, they were hanging out with, there were a lot of Chinese, interesting characters there. You have to wonder, is this part of sort of their appeasement policy, or is there something worse that they're covering up for, and they don't want to engage China for some reason?
In general, there was a one-day story basically last year in 23 with a lab that accidentally a building inspector stumbled upon it out on the West Coast, and it was all Chinese, not licensed, not registered. And when they got the SWAT team together and went into the lab,
California, right?
In California,
I remember that.
They found all kind of nasty stuff, smallpox.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's expand that aperture. We don't talk in the mainstream press about all of the Chinese police stations, all of the Chinese land near our military bases where some of these drones, I believe, have been launched from. We don't talk about Chinese registrations of yachts that they have purchased that they could be driving up and down the seaboard and launching drones from. They don't talk about the millions of fighting age men, 350,000 of which, this is Michael Yon's reporting from the Darien Gap, that could be walking amongst us in our nation right now. In other words, the administration has a lot to answer for in their relationship to China. And it's not just this drone thing, but what Americans should do is take this very, very seriously. And we need to be very open and vocal that this cognitive dissonance that they've engaged in with the American people is not going to get it. John Kirby saying that people from New Jersey don't understand what an airliner looks like anymore. That's not scratching the itch, John. And we deserve a lot more. What I'm worried about is there's another shoe to drop here, that this is just a pregame.
There's something going on that we don't know yet.
General, right. I'm a 9/11 survivor, so I take these things very, very seriously, and it really bothers me that, this laissez-faire attitude coming out of Washington towards this. It really bothers me.
Yeah, and at a time where there's an open border, and I hate to scare people, but it's a transition period, and you got a president who's MIA right now.
That's exactly right. He's nowhere to be found. And again, the Defense Department does not have this mission. That's my understanding from people I am talking to. Well, Pete Buttigieg and his FAA and the Department of Transportation are not suited for this. And the Department of Homeland Security has proven that they absolutely could care less about Article 4, Section 4. They've left the door to the United States open.
That secretary should be locked up. As far as I'm concerned, General, that secretary should be locked up.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think we're in danger here. And, I said it before, this situation represents a clear and present danger, and that they are in our country, air, land, and sea, represents the sum of all fears. We need to be very, very concerned. And we're doing a transition of power right now. I am watching very carefully the threats that surround that inauguration as we get closer and closer to that day.
Yeah, very important. I mean, we all have to be alert, especially given all the threats all over the place. Well, General, thank you so much. We really love having you here. It's such an important topic. And please keep us posted as you hear things, because they're flying all over the place, especially New York, New Jersey. So many of our listeners are really, really curious and concerned, rightfully so.
Yes. General, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. By the way, I got your message you had with all your cute little dogs. You have the cutest little card. So thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. And joining us now, you guys, we have Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella joining us. Let's go from the air to the streets. Vito, bad news. It looks like congestion pricing is moving forward.
Well, good evening and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all. It's going forward. I mean, we've sued in federal court, and there are other cases. In Jersey has a pretty big case, Rockland County as well. And we were not that surprised that the injunction was denied, but what we're waiting to hear is the case on the merits. It's bad policy. It's bad for New York City, we believe. It's especially bad for Staten Island, for more air pollution, more traffic, and we pay a third toll. And sooner or later, we're going to get the final result. But as long as we can potentially delay it until after President Trump is sworn in, there's a good chance that we can kill it at that point. So that's what we're hoping for. And, just listening to your previous guest, the common denominator in all of this is a lack of common sense. We're told the border is fine, and we see the results of that. We're told when you look up in the sky, we don't see drones. Just to mind your own business. We're told that congestion pricing is good for New York City. So the common denominator is basically they're misleading us on everything. So it's our obligation and our job to fight back.
So what can President Trump do? I know that you're hoping he can step on. I feel like a lot of people are. I think many New Yorkers and folks from other states too are hoping he can step in. What do you think he can do, and how quick could he act?
Well, I think at a minimum, what we said is that they perform something called an environmental assessment, which is a low-hanging bar. And we thought that an environmental impact statement, which is more comprehensive, should be in order. I think this was baked, the city, the state, primarily the state and the federal government. I think this was all baked in to get it done before the election, before a new president. And what we want to do is have President Trump take a fresh look at it, assuming he gets to that point, and have his agencies at the EPA and others to take a look and say, wait a minute, folks, time out. I think you analyzed this the wrong way. I think it's bad policy, and we won't approve it. So ultimately, the federal government has to approve it. And if they look at it again and deny it, then it could be dead.
Vito, this is Rudy.
Hey, Rudy.
I know Randy Mastro, who was representing one of the clients over in Jersey, I think the governor. And there was nothing in the ULURP or the environmental impact study that we could hang our hats on?
Oh, I think so. We try to team up with Randy, and he's one of the best attorneys around, as you know, Rudy. And the Jersey arguments are slightly different than ours. They have unique environmental issues. They have unique traffic implication issues. Staten Island, the thing we've been hanging our hat on is the MTA was required to do a study of the impact of 6 toxin pollutants. And in each of those cases, those will increase on Staten Island with the congestion pricing. So we have been saying since day one that the government, MTA, state, they're intentionally harming people by implementing congestion pricing, and that's just one of our arguments. We have other Commerce Clause arguments and right to travel and so-called NEPA arguments. So we're both coming on them almost from the same angle, but they're slightly different arguments.
Yeah, it's amazing, Rudy. I mean, I'm just sitting here as we're worried about the economy and everything else that they're still going forward with this. It still just seems so inconceivable. You look, I mean, there's so many issues with the crime. We were talking yesterday. It's like, go crack down on the fare beaters. Crack down on those people. Where's the effort on that?
Yeah, there's almost $1 billion in loss just on fear.
Could you imagine if you're running a business And at the end of the day, you say, I've lost $750 million because people just walk in and out, which is the fare evasion that's taking place on a daily basis. And you go back to the people who actually pay and say, we need another $1 billion from you. This is the logic that's sort of warped and really misleading, as I said at the opening comments. They're just misleading us. And that $9 toll or whatever it's going to be, if it's implemented, will become $20, become $30, and It will hurt New York City residents.
How much was the Verrazano Bridge when you started?
It was 50 cents.
How much is it now?
Now you need a second mortgage to drive over.
Well, you prefer to swim.
And that's what they do once it happens. And you know what? I mentioned earlier that you had Jack Ciattarelli, who we hope is the next governor of New Jersey, saying that if this goes through, they're going to put another toll for New York residents who go to Jersey. So for the people of Staten Island, think about it. Could be 4 tolls. You get hammered every which way because they do these cash cows with these bridges, and congestion pricing will be just that, a cash cow. And mark my words, if it ever happens, in 5 to 10 years, that billion grows to $2 billion without blinking an eye.
Yeah, and they still haven't cracked out on fare beaters.
No, right.
I mean, it's the obvious solution right now. I mean, it is really disgraceful. You're a good citizen, you pay, but the other ones going off scot-free. You know, crazy times. Vito Fossella, please keep us posted. And I'm so glad you're talking to President Trump because he loves New York. So I'm sure if he can step in, he's going to do whatever he can.
And Merry Christmas. And you got a grandchild to take care of now.
Actually, we just had a little Riley Parker a few minutes ago. She's doing great, and thank you for bringing that up.
Congratulations.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, how big is Riley? How big is Riley?
Riley is about 21.5 inches.
And how?
A little about 7 pounds, and she was born a week ago Friday, and it's the best present we could have. So
yes, the best Christmas present.
Oh, beautiful. We love you, Vito. Congrats. Merry Christmas.
So Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless.
Beautiful. And Christmas and Hanukkah on the same day. This hasn't happened in a long time. So coming up, we're going to be talking to our favorite rabbi,
Rabbi Potashnik.
Coming up after the break.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are doing the final countdown, John. We got to do the countdown after what we were talking about with Blaine Holt and Nicole Maliotakis and Dershowitz. 27 days, John. 27 more days.
That Biden could do damage to this country.
Rudy, there's a lot of damage that could be done, to John's point, in 27 days.
A whole lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly, between the skies and the borders. Oh, my goodness.
Now, let's see. Rabbi Potashnik is on.
Rabbi Potashnik is here joining us now. And Rabbi Potashnik, pray for America. And what we all think is so beautiful, tomorrow, Christmas and Hanukkah, same day. How great.
It's fantastic. And listen, the miracle will be if everybody learns to spell Hanukkah the same way.
I saw it 11 different ways.
Of this holiday.
That's true.
And I blame Vito Fossella for it.
Rabbi, when they said you were coming on, it made me reflect that you've been my rabbi for 30 years. It's been that long.
And where did it get me? No, you know what? You learn in life that one of the great gifts is to have a friendship. And to have a friendship with so many of you over the years has been very, very gratifying for me. And the fact that you give time to talk about the Jewish people, to the Jewish people. My father taught me, I don't care what kind of Jew you are, be proud of the Jew you are. That's the story of Hanukkah. It's about a people that simply want to be proud Jews, wanted to put the menorah today, put it in the window, put it in a public place, don't be afraid. And yet there are so many who seek to, hurt us because they hate us. And there are those who hide the menorah, behind the doors, not in the window.
Rabbi Potashnik, you bring about, how much I'm, from a Polish Catholic family, but how much I love the Jewish people and have a kinship with going back to my father's time. Sure. And, I think about how hard it must be for the hostages' families now, because I pray that they come home. during Hanukkah, but it may be a very difficult holiday for them, but let's pray. Yeah. It looks like we're close, right?
We're close, yeah. And by the way, here in America and around, pray for those Jewish kids who go to class on campuses today and are threatened, who are intimidated, and yet they refuse to succumb to passive resignation. They're not going to stop living and loving as Jews. So, the hate is here, but we're still here.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing that's amazing. I feel like when I think about also Hanukkah, just celebrate, the survival of the Jewish people and the warrior. Think about everything also that even Prime Minister Netanyahu has done. It's extraordinary what he has accomplished and the war and the guts and the courage and all the hurdles that the Jewish people have gone through, over this long period of time. And yet they are strong. They are steadfast. And just such an inspiration.
That's the miracle of Hanukkah. They can't extinguish that light. And the fact that we stand together, Christmas and Hanukkah, bringing light and love to one another is where we need to be. And that's why I am so grateful to have friends like you and to have those who have been allies of the Jewish people. We saw, by the way, October 7th, that was a defining moment. We saw who walked out. We saw who walked in and stood with us.
Absolutely. Well, we always stand with the Jewish people. You know that. And John and I and all of us are such big supporters. Well, Rabbi Joseph Potasnik, we love you. Happy Hanukkah, however you want to spell it, right?
Yeah, I've never seen a one holiday that is, by the way, the Cardinal asked me if it's an important holiday. And it is important, but alternate side of the street parking is not suspended. So it doesn't rise to the level of other Jewish holidays.
Oh.
But it's a minor holiday with a major message. And thanks to Christmas, it gets even more attention. So thank you so much.
You deserve alternate parking. That's crazy. We need to change that.
No, the Greeks and the Catholics gave it to them.
Okay, as long as you guys gave it to them. But that's amazing that you've earned it. So we're going to work on that, all right?
Thank you so much.
And we'll see if we can waive congestion pricing for you guys, too. Maybe that's another perk we can throw in.
But listen, once again, to everybody on this panel, thank you all. You are great friends, and we are grateful to have you as members of the extended Jewish family.
Thank you. We love you.
Much.
Thank you. We're praying the hostages come home and that is the blessing of Hanukkah. We pray for that and for Christmas. Thank you.
Never again. Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Rabbi Joseph Potasnik. Wow, that's a beautiful way to end. I love the fact that Hanukkah and Christmas, John, on the same day. And you're working.
I'm working in the morning. Well, I got to go to Christmas Mass tonight.
Yep. I'll be here.
With Cardinal Dolan.
I'll be manning the
I'll send you a picture.
Would you please? Good.
Yes, I will.
And
I always do.
You do. Thank you.
And then that means I go home at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to be back here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know.
Oh, John, you are tireless. I'm telling you, you're amazing. And I'll be with everybody tonight. Obviously, leading up to the midnight mass.
You think the boss would let me come in at 7? I
think you deserve a raise. You need to talk to yourself and get a raise. What do you think?
I don't know. I'll go in the closet, have a meeting.
I think top-notch meeting. And everybody, first of all, we love you. Everybody have a beautiful Christmas Eve. John and I will both be back. John's in the morning with Curtis, and then
I'll be back tomorrow night.
And we'll be back tomorrow night. Also,
we may be the only ones, but we'll be back.
But we'll be back, and we're glad to be with all of you on Christmas. We love and appreciate
Merry Christmas,
you guys all.
Happy Hanukkah. And we all pray for a great 2025.
And you know what? We got to end. What do we all stand for, John? Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless America. And thank you, God, for helping America.
Roger Stone here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k. And China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the U.S. dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. Gold has protected American wealth through every financial war. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, go to freegoldguide.com/ STONE or call 800-747-6589. So go to freegoldguide.com/stone or call 800-747-6589. That's 800-747-6589 for a free 2024 Gold Guide to learn how you can protect your life's work, and if you qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver right now. That's freegoldguide.com/stone.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.